Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. All right, so we are live, fellas. Thank you for your patience in this week in the PHFL. We got a whole lot of action and content to go over this week. Fellas, if you can do me a favor, make sure when you stream your games that we can get those things saved. It was a lot of good games that happened over the first week of the season that unfortunately I didn't get a chance to be able to snip some highlights because we didn't get those saved to your broadcast. So when you get the opportunity, if you may, please, if we can get those saved to your broadcast, that would be awesome. So in this week in the PHFL, we're going to go over our week one results, just kind of looking at some of the results in week one. I want to say a couple of surprises, but definitely some games that we thought would be a lot more competitive. We're also going to take a look at this week's top 10. And again, we have to be a little bit, at least a little bit. I mean, we got to use the algorithm because that's where the playoffs is going to be based off of. However, we're definitely still going to use it from a user perspective, that we're going to make sure that we highlight the top 10 users. And then later on in the season, we're going to come out with probably week number 5 or so. We'll come out with our own maybe coaches, PHFL, college top, maybe 5 or top 10. Just kind of depends on which way that we're going to fall with that. And then we're going to go over to taking a look at recruiting, just to kind of see, what recruits, what are our top 5 recruits, what are they looking at, who are their schools. I mean, again, you're noticing now compared to last year that this is a totally different game with recruiting. So those top maybe, 15 players or so, they're going to be, it's going to be imperative, especially if you're building your program and you're trying to, again, attract some elite talent to be able to, again, make it to that, to that elite status. That's definitely going to be a huge component of, your overall, just kind of the direction you're going to go is your recruiting. So you're going to have to recruit. So we'll take a look at, maybe the top 5 and just kind of see, overall, what some of the thoughts are and what some of the pundits are saying regarding those talents. And then we'll look at a couple of key games up and coming in week number 3. Now, let's get to a couple of highlights that we were able to pull. Again, just some great, great. Let me get that up here. Okay, perfect. Just some great action in the PHFA. This was argued.
trailing by a possession they need to keep the ball, they'll try to convert on 4th down. Surging forward on the sneak. He's stopped short and they'll turn it over. What a huge stand by this defense. Here we go, they'll try to get something on the board here in the final minute of the first. He wants to start this drive with a pass. Grabs it at the 25-inch stride. And he got away from the defense and
you're playing against that team that you're paying attention to Nick Harbor. So again, guys, just make sure when you finish your games, if you can get those things uploaded. I put it in slow motion, Chronic, just to be able so I can pause it and again, be able to kind of point out what I want to see and what we want to talk about during the telecast. Again, it's like ESPN, man. We slow it down so you can kind of get a behind the scenes coaching view, Coach Chronic, of what we're seeing and we want our fans to make sure they understand why these play calls are being this way. So that's why we put it in slow motion, or we kind of slowed it down a little bit versus having it at the normal speed. So again, back to week 3 action. Again, we got our coaches in the chat. Shout out to Penn State coach Chronic again with a great victory in week number 1 and week number 2. So getting into week 3 action again, we have a couple of matchups that is definitely going to be, just probably got to take a look at it just to kind of, get a feel for these teams. Alabama and Mississippi State. That's probably the marquee. I know. Well, yeah, that's probably the marquee matchup. Probably kind of a tie along with South Carolina and Nebraska. But Alabama versus Mississippi State, both teams are undefeated. So, again, we're looking at Mississippi State again and seeing, again, how real they are. And really, again, this is going to be a test. Starkville is definitely a tough place to play. So, again, this should be a huge matchup with Alabama and Mississippi State. South Carolina and Nebraska, again, that should be another very interesting matchup. Coach Deeds come with championship pedigree. So, again, you can't dismiss Coach Deeds and what he's built over the last 2 college football seasons. Again, so that's where fellas, the stream wasn't messing up. We put it in slow motion on purpose so that way we can break down the actual play. So again, during tomorrow's highlights, we'll make it a little bit faster. But again, I digress because the Mississippi coach and the Penn State coach is looking at the slow motion thinking that that wasn't intentional. But again, back to live and regularly scheduled programming. Alabama and Mississippi State, again, two undefeated teams that, again, are looking for, we're looking forward to a great matchup. South Carolina and Nebraska, again, Nebraska coming out, definitely has a championship pedigree with Coach Deeds. And again, we're looking to see whether or not they can be able to stop the high-flying, high-powered South Carolina offense. Then you have Notre Dame, again, coming off their victory against Texas A&M. And then we have LSU versus Florida. So, again, hold on. Oh, so you couldn't hear me? Okay. Let me check this and make sure. Oh, yep. Okay, so we're good. So again, definitely some good matchups. I got what you were saying. You couldn't hear me because the mic. Okay, appreciate it, Coach Chronic. But again, definitely some good matchups in the week number 3. So again, definitely make sure you get those streams up. Make sure you're saving your streams. So that way, again, we can make sure that we're tapping into the highlights of each of the PHFL college football games. Now let's take a look at kind of the recruiting circle. Again, we now, like last year, there was so much talent last year. You can find a running back, a 3-star running back that had potential. You can find like a quarterback with speed. You can find now, man, I'm telling you, I went through it, and Texas A&M, I figured, our recruiting staff and how much we pay with NIL money that we're able to, go out here and attract some talent. But right now, man, it's slim pickings, even with 4 stars. Like, they're not coming out with a lot of oomph. So again, this is definitely going to be something that we have to definitely take a look at and really look at as we're going through and looking at some of these 5-star recruits. But right now, the number 1 overall recruit is a wide receiver, Nelson Nealon. He's number 1 in the country. He's an elite route runner. And right now, his top 2 schools, and really top 3 rather, is Alabama, Georgia, and Tennessee. Again, just kind of the who's who in the blue blood of college football. So right now, the number 1 overall recruit is looking at Alabama. And again, Alabama is really wide receiver used. So again, I'm not sure if Georgia or Tennessee is going to be able to not to make up the ground, but right now, as you see, Alabama definitely has the leg up on Georgia. So this is going to be a very interesting recruiting battle for the number 1 player in the country, Nelson Nealon. And again, he's from Georgia, so you would figure that maybe, again, he wants to stay close to home. But again, the Alabama, pipeline and the Alabama, just kind of the recruiting branch is definitely, something that, again, you want to be able to keep that in-home talent, but no, Alabama is known to poach talent throughout the country. The number 2 player is a wide receiver. He's a contested specialist, 6'3", 203, and he's from Gibsonia, Pennsylvania, and that's Khalil Mabin, 5-star. And again, he's right now, his number 1 school is Notre Dame, but you got Louisville. That's a surprise to have Louisville as number 2. And then you have Penn State. Normally, Penn State, they are really strong within that Pennsylvania, which they should, but within the Pennsylvania tri-state area. But again, right now, it looks like those top 3 teams, Notre Dame, Louisville, and Penn State, have the leg up on the number 2 overall recruit. Not too much activity from Ohio State and Georgia, but right now it looks like all eyes are pointed towards Notre Dame as far as landing the number 2 overall recruit. Getting to number 3, a 6'2", 170-pound bump and run cornerback from Country Club Hills, Illinois. And right now, Tyler Hearns, the number 3 overall prospect, is right now. It's going to be a battle between. Look at all the schools. You're talking about a who's who in college football. You got Michigan, Notre Dame, Oregon, Georgia, and Texas. All 5 schools right now are bidding for this young man's service, and right now Michigan has a slight edge over Notre Dame. So again, you know by the coaches, and maybe we'll take a look at it and see whether or not we can take a deep dive into the attributes of these players. But you can pretty much rest assured that when you see like the list of coaches in this top five, almost like a who's who, and it's led by Coach Deasy, then you can pretty much rest assured that this kid has a lot of potential. And again, looking forward, to his ultimate decision. And right now, again, Michigan is right now ahead of Notre Dame as far as Mr. Hearns kind of nailing down or narrowing down his schools to the top 8. Then we get to the fourth player, top overall player, and that's Tresman Teal from Harbor City, California. Another cornerback, bump and run, 6'2", 173 pounds. And right now, LSU is right now leading the way. Again, LSU with Darryl, with Stingley, going back to Pat Peterson. I mean, they've always had some solid cornerbacks. So again, it's no surprising, and even Georgia. So I mean, matter of fact, all 5 of these schools. So you can't just eliminate one versus another. But again, looking at the schools that are looking at Mr. Teal, you got LSU, you got Georgia, you got Oregon, you got Notre Dame, and then you have Oklahoma. So again, you're talking about the blue bloods of college football that right now are looking to obtain Mr. Teal's services for this upcoming season. And then the last recruit in the top 5 is, did we get him on here? So maybe we didn't get him. Okay, so we just got it to the, there's the top 5 right there, is Connor Bullock, a defensive tackle speed rusher. Again, right now it's Alabama. Again, Alabama, and this guy's from Lake Charles, Louisiana. So again, Alabama's pipeline and their reach. Again, he's the 5th ranked player in the country. Again, defensive tackle, 6'5", 298. He's a speed rusher. And you got Alabama right now they're pretty much trying to close the deal along with Georgia. Kind of surprising that LSU allowed him to get out of the state. But again, I'm not sure how much, time and energy they put into recruiting this guy. And then again, in his top 5, he did have Texas and LSU, or Texas A&M, who didn't make any attempts, at gaining his services. But again, it looks like Alabama and Georgia are going to be fighting neck and neck to be able to get this young man's service. So again, just kind of going back, you got Connor Bullock right now. Alabama and Georgia are fighting over him. You got Tresman Teal. Looks like LSU has a slight edge over Georgia. Again, Oregon is not out of it, and also Notre Dame. Then you have Tyler Hearns. Again, Tyler Hearns. Michigan and Notre Dame are going to be fighting, tooth and nail along the way, because he's just at his top 8. So there's a lot of recruiting and a lot of spending that's going to be needed to get his services. The number 3 overall recruit. And then we got Khalil Maben right now, Notre Dame and Louisville, slightly ahead of Penn State. But again, it looks like it's probably going to come down to Notre Dame and Louisville. So I guess the visits and, just kind of what you can commit to him is probably going to be that key to push them over the edge. But again, he's the number 2 overall player. And then the number 1 overall player is Nelson Nealon from Warner Robins, Georgia, wide receiver. And right now it's Alabama and it's Georgia going over, those two. Going over, with those two focusing on his services. So again, those are the top 5, and I think again we'll go through and maybe even add kind of the top quarterbacks to see where the quarterbacks are going. Maybe look at we kind of look at wide receivers and running back. Maybe look at O-line perspective. So we'll kind of keep an eye on recruiting as we go along throughout the season. So again, I think that's going to be critically important. To this franchise is going to be, or this dynasty is going to be recruiting. And again, that's something you want to look at. And now let's get to our PHFL top 10. Again, we're gonna add in a couple of like users, so we're not gonna put in any CPUs. So this will strictly be user generated via the algorithm as far as the dynasty is concerned. And again, I think ultimately we're gonna add maybe our own little spin on it. But again, from a playoff perspective, right now, here is your list of your top 10 schools. So number one is Texas. Again, they had an outstanding victory over Ohio State in arguably one of the best games, thus far. Just came down literally to the last play, and Texas was able to score. So again, right now, Texas is the number one school in the country, followed by Penn State. Again, a lot of talent with Penn State. If they can just, again, put it together from a coaching perspective, this team is going to be a team that's going to be definitely a team that you're going to have to reckon with throughout the season. The number 3 team in the country is your Oregon Ducks. So your Oregon Ducks is your number 3 team in the season. Again, just a lot of talent out there in Eugene. So again, this is another team that you're definitely going to have to keep your eyes on. A couple of good matchups coming up with Oregon upcoming, but again, right now Oregon is your number 3 team. Your number 4 team is your Georgia Bulldogs. So your Georgia Bulldogs are the number 4 team in the country. So again, no surprise there. Again, we'll definitely look forward to Georgia getting and competing in the SEC. So again, Georgia is your number 4 team. Your number 5 team in the country is your Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Again, just a dominating win over the University of Miami. So Notre Dame continues to be in the top 10. So again, Notre Dame comes in at number 5. So now this is where we're going to start to see the shakeup after a couple of weeks of gameplay. Number 6 in your top 10 is the Alabama Crimson Tide. So Alabama coming in, they're undefeated at 2-0. So again, Alabama is a team, again, definitely a tough schedule upcoming. But again, Alabama definitely has a lot of talent, and we definitely look forward to, that Mississippi State Alabama game. I think that's going to be a very interesting matchup between those two schools. Coming in at number 7 is your Ohio State Buckeyes. Again, they're still in the top 10. No shame in losing to, the number 1 team in the country on the last play of the game. So, of course, again, you'll definitely, put air quotes penalized. But, again, they still are a top 10 team. And this is the team from an offensive perspective. There's not going to be a lot of teams that's going to be able to match up with this team offensively, point for point like Texas did. So, again, you're definitely going to look out for Ohio State putting up a lot of points. And again, as some of these head-to-head matchups happen, I definitely wouldn't be surprised with Ohio State, moving up in the top 5 within a couple of weeks. Coming in at number 8 is your South Carolina Gamecocks. Absolutely. They're sneaking in again to that top 10 after their dominating win over the Florida Gators. So again, just a lot of speed from an offensive perspective. Sellers is one of the best dual threat quarterbacks, if not the best dual threat quarterback in the country. And Nick Harbor is just a speed demon. So again, this is definitely a team that you're definitely going to have to prepare for strategically. And again, this is a team that, again, you have to look out for from an offensive perspective. So again, they're coming in at number 8. Coming in at number 9 is your Arizona State Wildcats. Again, we got to look at it. This was, and I think, again, Coach, one of the coaches mentioned this, which was Coach Deasy, talked about the Sun Devils. I said Wildcats, Arizona State Sun Devils. Talked about like the talent of Arizona State. And if you didn't realize, that, wait a minute, this team actually made the playoffs last year, and if I'm not mistaken, I think they won a game. So this team came in with a lot of talent. So it's not like they were devoid of talent. So again, them being in the top 10 honestly is not a surprise at all, especially what they have behind center the elite quarterback. And coming in at number 10 in our, I guess we can call it kind of our top 10 like user poll. We did again remove all of this CPU, but coming in at number 10 is your Michigan Wolverines. Again, just an impressive victory over where are you? Over Texas A&M. So Michigan right now is coming in at number 10. So again, this is, this list is definitely going to be fluid because, again, with college football, any loss is definitely going to have an impact. Again, not necessarily saying that it's going to be a huge impact, but again, when you lose, you're definitely going to drop a couple of slots. And then when you win, you're definitely going to, move up a couple of slots as well. So again, this is your boy, the old ball coach. Again, just kind of tapping in for week number 2 of the PHFL. We are about to advance to week number 3 of college football 26. So make sure you get your games slated. Make sure you get your games broadcast. And please make sure if you can get those things saved for me. That's going to help out the channel. That's going to help out the community. We got a lot of new members that are joining in. So this is their first taste of kind of our PHFL weekly game and weekly podcast show. So again, those newbies, this is what we do on a daily basis. We go through and recap the performances. We go over a lot of different content. So again, just make sure you get those broadcasts saved. So this is your boy, the old ball coach, coming in live from our studios right outside of Washington, D.C., where it's 82 degrees and cloudy. This is your boy, and I'm out. Peace.